Chapter 7, A Brother to Dragons by Sabrina and Mia. So Chapter 7 starts off with Lori lighting up Dan's owl ship, which reveals Dan's paranoia about the mass killer theory, and then leads to Lori walking around Dan's hidden or secretive basement. They talk about how Dan became the second night owl, and how he regrets that the crime busters never took off, and how he had to give up being a superhero. When they are watching TV later on, they kiss, but Dan is not able to take it further than that and feels impotent and powerless. So instead they fall asleep, and Dan has a dream that him and Lori kiss in front of a nuclear bomb exploding while they're in their costumes. When he wakes up, him and Lori agree to suit up as they're energized and take the owl ship out when they find a burning building where they rescue the tenants, and then they have sex. With his confidence and feeling of power back, he decides he needs to break Rorschach out of prison. Key themes in this book are dreams and aspirations, which is dreams you had as a kid, and fantasy versus the reality and practicality of the world, so facing societal pressures and pressures from the world and having to grow up and change what you want to do. Romantic attitudes, both literally with Lori and Dan's relationship developing and then metaphorically as well. Inhibition, disassociation from self. He feels impotent and disconnected from himself, powerlessness with what's going on in their society right now, and them feeling like they can't contribute. Coming to terms with your identity. This chapter, he comes to terms with his identity by the end and starts feeling more like himself and more confident in himself. We also see an imperfection of superheroes because we think superheroes fight for the good of people and because they want to help people, but we can see that this is more for himself and because he cares about feeling confident in himself again. The chapter title, A Brother to Dragons, holds significance because it indicates how Dan's owl ship is the dragon as it's spewing out the flames, which is similar to a dragon spewing out flames. The title also refers to Dan's dream about him and Lori being engulfed in the flames of a nuclear bomb, which foreshadows what's to come most likely. And then A Brother to Dragons could also mean that his relationship with Ozymandias was so close that they were like brothers, but he turned out to be a dragon betraying him, as dragons are mostly connotated with betrayal and fire is evil. This is also associated with the larger biblical verse, which is, I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. This sounds like it's describing the image you see and describing what happens after a nuclear bomb. The goggles are an important symbol in this chapter. They have been hiding in the basement with all of Dan's past, which symbolizes how Dan has just hidden and stowed away an important part of himself. He has given up his dreams and fantasies for a practical life due to the pressures of the real world that have been instilled in him. This comments on how children at a young age are usually forced to give up their creativity due to the reason that society wants to create more like robots that succumb to societal standards rather than following their unconventional dreams and ambitions. The rose-tinted glasses you see on the screen symbolize viewing the world through a romantical and fantastical element, and this romantic dreaming aspect of Dan has just been stored away inside himself, just like the goggles have been stored away with the rest of the stuff for years. The smear in the goggles is also another symbol we see on the cover of the chapter, and it's showing Dan's owl ship Archie, which is a symbol of the bloody smiley face that appears many times in the book. It appeared in the beginning with the comedian, and it shows that even though the goggles are an optimistic escape from reality, that the stains of the real world will still exist on them. The clock symbolizes how the end is near and time is running out, which foreshadows the evil plan that occurs at the end, since a nuclear bomb is usually considered the end of the world. This is also on the cover, and it's on the cover of each chapter, slowly getting closer and closer to doom. Reflections in the ovals seen in this chapter are a huge symbol, and they appear many times throughout this chapter, and they symbolize the theme of realizing your own identity. Dan has become someone he does not feel is his true self, and there are symbols of reflection to show that you need to look at yourself sometimes and notice that you have changed and become what you have become what you don't want. A reflection allows you to see your one true self, and this is a signal or a way for Dan to see and it shows us that he's not him true self, and it allows him to reflect upon what's happened and go back and think about where it went wrong. King Arthur is an important allusion we see many times throughout this chapter. The story is that Arthur was the firstborn son of King Uther Pendragon and heir to the throne, but with troubled times in the kingdom, Merlin, who was a wise and noble sorcerer, sent the baby to be raised in a secret place, and then he used his magic to set a sword in a stone called Excalibur. It was deemed that whoever could remove the sword from the stone would become king. And later on, Arthur was able to remove this sword, and then he became king, and he built a kingdom called Camelot. And then his knights would gather around a round table and perform chivalrous acts, as well as rescue damsels in distress. I think this ties in with the theme, with the romantic theme of this chapter, and kind of regressing back towards fantasy elements and letting go of the expectations of practicality. The Knights of the Round Table is an origin romantic tale which emphasizes the feeling of being in a fellowship of super beings such as the Knights, which is similar to what Crime Busters could have been. And he was just referring to how he wanted to be this close-knit group like they were. The Soviet-Afghan War is something that is alluded to in this chapter as well. It lasted from December 24th, 1979 to February 15th, 1989. The Soviet-Afghanistan War was fought between Afghanistan rebels called the Mujahideen and the Soviet-supported Afghanistan government. The United States supported the Afghan rebels in order to try and overthrow the communist government and to prevent the spread of communism. In the book, it's deferred a few years because of Dr. Manhattan, and he's able to stop this, but when he leaves on October 20th, 1985, the Soviet Union takes advantage of this and invades Afghanistan. I think this connects to the theme of how this society has seemed to relinquish God and morals, which allows complete chaos to ensue and many global conflicts to take place. The theme that humans will fight other humans for personal gain if nothing is stopping them, because in this type of society, people have seemed to have lost their morals. So without Dr. Manhattan stopping them, they're just going to do whatever they want because morals are just not in this society. Unforgettable by Nat King Cole is a song that's alluded to in the text, and it's when Dan and Lori's relationship is developing, and I believe the lyrics describe the relationship and how they're becoming something that's going to be unforgettable.
That's what you are. Unforgettable. Though near or far.
Hiroshima was also briefly alluded to in the text. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima by U.S. Air Forces. This was the first time a nuclear weapon had ever been used. The fireball created by the bomb destroyed 13 square kilometers of the city, and then those dead as a result numbered up to 180,000. This book does not seem to differ from the real-life event, and it is something that happened a while back in the novel. However, it is still commemorated as Hiroshima Week. The Hiroshima lovers image pops up in the chapter during Dan's dream when him and Lori are brought to flames by the nuclear bomb, and symbolizes the coming atomic war and the devastating effects. It criticizes the logic behind the nuclear bomb dropped in Hiroshima, which was supposed to resolve things and eventually bring world peace by ending a war. However, it was absurd, just like Veidt's plan to sacrifice innocence for the greater good. You're My Thrill by Billie Holiday starts playing after Dan and Lori rescue the people from the burning building, and this is thrilling for them because they're getting back to what they're used to, and they're getting back to their superhero roots, and this is what makes them feel alive again.